So why don't we just talk a little bit more about what this concentration meditation, and we'll just do a 5-minute session of it. So basically, the body doesn't meditate, but the body obviously, is there, and it needs to be in a conducive position. It's been found, by the great meditators over the centuries. There are various points about the body that are helpful. So the first one is your legs. All the Asians, certainly all the Indians, and then since then the Tibetans and all the others, have found that having the legs in what they call full lotus position, which is cross-legged with your one instep, each instep on the other thigh. There's something about this that's really practical. Okay, especially for advanced practitioners. There's something about the alignment of these more subtle energies, which we might discuss later, to all be in alignment. And because the body is very tightly kind of packed in with each instep on the other thigh, your body's very stable. So you can sit upright, meditating like that for hours, in fact days, some people. You don't topple over, And so that's the first point. If you can do that, the Dalai Lama says it's really auspicious to start your session in this full lotus position. It kind of creates the cause to be able to do it in the future, If you can't, that's fine. Have one leg on the other thigh. If you can't do that, have ordinary cross-legged. If you can't do that, sit in a chair, whatever, That's the first thing. But in terms of how you sit, if you want to sit on the floor, then it's important to find the way the cushion works for you. Some people like a big cushion. So, if you were able to sit full lotus position, then you just need a little cushion propping you up underneath your coccyx, It helps you sort of thrust forward slightly, not topple backwards. But you've got to find the position that works for you. That's the first thing. And the bottom is the second thing. So then the second one, they talk about the back. It's really important that you hold up your own back. So if you're sitting in a chair, now make sure your feet are firmly planted on the ground and you're not slumping into the back of the chair. Hold up your own body. It's important that you hold up your body, which is how your body would be if you're cross-legged, because then they talk about in the more subtler energies, this subtle nervous system we have. We might mention this later. Then all the energies are kind of working very nicely. So they say to think of your spine like an arrow, ramrod straight, and the coccyx is like the head of the arrow pointing into the earth. So the legs in the way they are, then the back straight, and the body upright. So the next one they say is they talk about the shoulders should be very straight and upright, not slumped and not tense. So in general with the body, I like to say it like this, that you think of your skeleton. If your skeleton was hanging on a hanger, it would be absolutely straight, wouldn't it? All the bones upright. But then think of all the soft part, your flesh, the muscles, the fat, all hanging on that skeleton. Well, they should be relaxed. So the body should be upright, but the soft parts relax. So consciously relax your muscles. Have your body upright, your shoulders square, your back straight, and then flop your muscles, especially your abdomen. We hold a lot of tension there. So really relax your muscles, flop all the muscles, but don't slump your body. Keep your body upright. So the body should be upright and the muscles relaxed. That's a perfect combination. So relax your abdomen, relax your shoulders, but the bones upright. The next one is your hands. There's different positions all the meditators use, and this is a traditional one we're taught. Your left hand underneath, right on top, the two thumbs forming a triangle. Your hands resting in your lap, but not close to you, not tense, close to your body, relaxed. Now the main part is your head. Several points there. So have your head slightly tilted forward, your chin tucked in. If you have your head thrust backwards, it kind of makes the mind agitated. So your head slightly tilted forward, chin tucked in. And then your jaw completely relaxed and your lips slightly apart. And the tip of the tongue, this seems odd but there's logic to it, the tip of your tongue resting just behind your top teeth, near the palate. And all the meditators over the centuries have found that if your tongue is in this position, you don't dribble. You don't have to swallow your spit all the time. It's all practical. Because some people meditate, are doing this meditation seriously for a long time. So your tongue resting behind the top teeth, just near the palate. Jaw relaxed, lips apart. And then finally your eyes. Well, actually all the meditators over the centuries have found, I suppose if you're doing meditation all day and you're meditating in the daytime, then it's really good to have the light coming in. So they would have their eyes open. But that implies you've got good concentration. Well, we get so distracted by that, I think, because our mind has not gone very inward. It's still involved in all the sensory objects. So if you can have your eyes open, that's fine. But if not, have your eyes looking down. Have your eyes lightly closed. But have your eyes looking down, as if you're looking along your nose towards the ground. That's the ideal position, okay? So check just the legs, the bottom, the back, your hands, your jaw, your lips, tip of the tongue, behind the top teeth, your eyes looking down, and your eyes lightly closed. Just settle into this position. So we can see, can't we, especially this afternoon, the tendency is to go straight to sleep. Just nod off, and that's our deep tendency. That might be an interesting point just to observe here. We're going to do like 3 minutes of quality meditation. So we can see the tendency, which is to slump and space out. The moment you subdue your senses, that's what happens naturally. So another time, if your mind's busy, then the other option, the other extreme is your mind go berserk. So they're the two main dangers. And the beginning stages of this concentration meditation is you're really learning to be alert to counteract each of those tendencies. So the job at hand, the actual job, is simply to pay attention to the sensation at your nostrils as your breath goes in and out. So for like 1 minute or half a minute, just take a couple of breaths, and the job is to locate that sensation, the sensation at your nostrils. It's slightly different when you breathe in and out. You'll see it's slightly different, but that's the focal point. So just locate that focal point. Take a couple of deep, complete breaths, not loud, not forced. Breathe all the way in, all the way out, keeping your abdomen relaxed, and just locate that sensation. So now a little bit more I'll say, and then we'll do it. So, there's actually various parts of your mind involved in this action. So they're all thoughts. So the main part is the one where we say pay attention. So there's one part of the mind, they call it attention. You're going to simply pay attention. Then there's other parts of your mind. We don't think like this, but imagine there's another part, the Dalai Lama calls it like the policeman. It's called vigilance. It's another part of your mind that is going to be watching attention like a hawk. Imagining your attention is the part watching the breath. Well, vigilance is the part that's watching, and every time the attention wanders off, this vigilance part, you imagine it like this, brings your attention back to the breath. I think of it a bit like as if you're a kid walking on the edge of a cliff. That's attention, is the kid. Then vigilance is like the mother, is watching like a hawk. If the kid's staying on track and is not wandering off, then vigilance doesn't interfere. But if attention wanders off and is going to fall over the cliff, then vigilance sticks their nose in and brings it back to the breath. This sounds a bit odd initially, but don't just space out and think, I'm watching my breath. It's much more specific than that. So with strong determination, okay, for 3 minutes, you're going to pay attention to your breath, almost think like as if your life depended on it. You're not going to space out, you're going to have strong determination. That's why not to think of it as a relaxation technique, because you just space out. And we don't want to space out, and we don't want the mind to go berserk. So you've got to keep it on track, simply watching the breath. In and out. That's the job to be done. And the moment vigilance notices wandering off, notices you spacing out, notices you following off other thoughts, you simply bring it back to the breath. You bring your attention back to the breath. That's the actual job you're going to do, with strong determination and a wish not to miss one breath. Just simply watch your breath. Just bring your mind back to the breath, just the breath. Keep the mind sharp, alert, just on the breath. Just the breath. Okay, relax now. It really is better to have 3 quality minutes than even 7 minutes when most of the time it's spacing out. Because when we understand the goal, you really get the point. If you think it's relaxation, which is the typical view, then you're completely on the wrong track. It's very pleasant, but it's not the point. Can you hear this point very clearly? I presume you can. Do you have any questions about it? Do you have any questions about it?
Does it matter if I'm concentrating on my breath or on the sounds outside?
Well, because you're trying to bring the mind internal, concentrating on the outside just keeps your mind on the outside. It can help. You can do that easily. You can take anything to focus on. You can, of course you can. But at the end, the long-term goal of this is to go internal. So even then, even from that perspective, the breath is still external. It's got to be something subtler. So to help, it helps it to be internal because you want to go more internal. But in the end, it can be anything. You can concentrate on your shoes. Do you understand my point? So the aim is to keep the mind sharp and focused. That's the whole point, though. That's the point. So you can just as easily do it on a sound. You could, of course, for that reason. But it's to train the mind to stay focused. You understand? Any other points? Yeah.
So
Neil.
I can hear my thoughts.
Of course you can, yeah.
I can hear them.
That's right.
I can feel the body.
Yeah, of course.
I can feel things moving.
That's right.
I can feel the dog.
That's right.
So the main thing is to be focused.
Just deciding to choose one thing to focus on. And in case this is naturally they're all there because our mind is conscious of all these things. But the job is to help to choose one thing to focus on, just to keep your mind to be sharp. That's all.
Okay.
Do you understand? That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, one of the things is, if you can hear all your thoughts, that's in a sense good. You're not going to pay. It's like you're in that room of 100 different people all chatting. You can't help but hear them, but you're not focusing on them, and you're not going to engage in a conversation with them. And that's good that you're seeing them because they're your thoughts. That's why we often think our mind's getting worse. But it's excellent, and then so that the training in this is in your daily life. Instead of just being absorbed in the traffic, knowing there are thoughts going on but you're not noticing them, when you start to be more focused, you can't help but also notice your thoughts, and then you can process them when they happen, because you're training yourself to be familiar. But your goal in this meditation is not to focus on them, but you can't help but hear them, and that's excellent. Don't think it's wrong.
No, but what do I need to focus on?
As I said, but the breath, I just said, the breath. That's the job.
Yeah.
That's the decision you make. That's the decision you're going to make. You decide what you're going to focus on. You're just anchoring your mind to some one thing, that's all. Typically, the breath is a good example. There are other meditation, they call it Mahamudra, where you're training your mind to watch the thoughts. That's more tricky. You've got to know what you're doing, but that's also, we can try that one out as well. You're just training your mind to take something to focus on, to anchor your mind to it, so then what you're developing from that is clarity, the ideal. It doesn't mean you get it straight away. Do you understand? Because the tendency is to follow whatever's there, isn't it? Mindlessly, most of the time. Yeah. Any other questions?
What happens to me is that whenever I try to observe the breath, I change it. I'm trying to, I try to have a natural breath.
Yes.
And all of a sudden I try either to make it longer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you have to try and stop doing all that. You have to stop being conceptual about it, just watching it, let it take itself.
Yeah.
You've got to stop. I mean, that's okay, do what you like, but in the end, the goal is not to do that. The goal is to allow the breath just to be natural and just simply pay attention to it. Yeah. Do you understand?
It's just changing. It's changing the heartbeat. It's changing. I try to focus, and then the mind is going, and then I try to bring.
Yeah, well, you're not paying attention to the breath, then you're paying attention to everything else. You just pay attention means you try to ignore all those trips of the mind. You just yeah. In this particular meditation, the goal is to focus on one thing. That's it. That's the goal. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Mm. We can do other little kinds. There's nice other kinds. We'll do other kinds, tomorrow and the other day. Yeah. Anybody? Any other questions? Can you hear how like I said to Neil just before, how there can be an advantage? You mightn't get much focus, but because you're stepping out of your head, you're aiming not to follow the thoughts. You can't help but notice the thoughts, isn't it? Yeah. So this is why very commonly people say, "Oh, my mind's getting worse." Because if you've never paid attention to your thoughts in your whole life, which is not uncommon, then it's quite a shock because you start to hear all these crazy thoughts. You think, oh my God, I'm going crazy. But we're not. It's just that they've always been there, a million thoughts a minute. We just literally don't pay attention until they're shouting loud. Then we have mental breakdowns, you know. It's kind of interesting. What else, people? Any questions before we finish then? It's time to go home.
So it's not real that our thoughts shout more when we try to take them away?
Start again.
I feel when I try not to listen to my thoughts,
Yes.
they shout more.
Yeah, well, I understand.
To call my attention.
No, I understand. I don't think that they're shouting more. I think it's just that you're noticing them more because your mind's quiet, I think. But the aim is, it's like the same with the sounds outside. Suddenly dogs can start barking. And this is where we can really see in daily life how scattered our minds are. You know, Neil point right at the beginning. Suddenly if there was a huge bunch of noise out there and cars revving their engines, we'd kind of get upset. You know, because our mind would as soon as the noise, our mind runs to that noise, and then we judge it if it's nice or not nice, and then we get upset or we get happy, one or the other. That's what our mind's doing all day. That's what distracted mind is. You're on the freeway, and because there's so much traffic, you can't handle it. And then a person here shouts, and that person says something over there. Our mind tends to run to whatever is the main thing. That's why we literally have no focus whatsoever. It's very typical for us if suddenly the cars were revving their engine, we go, oh no. We would not be able to stay even focused on our breath. But that's the aim, is to simply ignore the dogs, ignore the sound, ignore. That's why when you're on the freeway and there's so much traffic and then suddenly the car comes behind you, you have a panic attack and you freak out and you can't focus on anything because we're not used to keeping our mind focused. We're used to being easily distracted. We're so easily distracted, and that's why we get exhausted. Not because the sound is loud. It's because we're not used to not following whatever goes on. We're like little birds that will follow anything. That's why we're exhausted by the end of the day. It's almost like our mind has got no strength, you know. Our mind runs to whatever's there. That's what we call distraction, and that's why we're so scattered, and why we can't go deep in our mind. The aim is to start going deep into your mind. Well, we can't until we've got some focus. It's kind of obvious, you know. We just stay on the surface. And then we're caught up in attachment and the thing we want to think of. Then we have aversion, then all the dramas. I mean, this is where you can see in ordinary daily life how even the smallest thing happens. You're nearly going crazy with all these conversations, and we can't stop them, you know. And we just assume it's normal to not stop them. But this is Buddha's deal. We've got potential for incredible control over our minds, you know. So it really is literally it's like training. It's training, you know. Training to do anything. Yeah.
I have a question about what you said before on meditation about attachment and the mind getting very angry about things that seemingly affect us.
You like distractions and noises and the traffic and all this. Yes, yes.
Whatever.
Yes.
How about when the mind gets angry about the things that do not affect us directly, seemingly do not affect us directly? To see something that we judge as wrong.
Yes, and we get
it doesn't affect us, maybe at all. But
you mean like reading about the news and people harming each other and terrible injustices happening?
About somebody hurting an animal? Or
No, of course. No, darling. No, we'll go on. We'll talk about that tomorrow. This is where we have to. This is where, you know, you can say that's called compassion. You see some suffering, but then what tends to happen immediately, because of our particular view, we think the suffering is caused by that horrible guy. So our compassion immediately turns into anger. Then we do all the blah blah blah. So we'll go into that more tomorrow. Because this is just inevitably what happens, especially with these days, with just news flooding through every sense, every moment. The world can be absolutely overwhelming, isn't it? So this is where we have to learn to distinguish between attachment and aversion and virtue, compassion, and that again is a minefield. We'll go into it tomorrow. Yeah. So I think we stop. So you people, what are you going to do now? Going to have dinner, hang out, go to parties, get drunk? What are you going to do now?
All of that together.
All of that together, okay.
I'm going to weed. I'm going to eat.
We're going to eat? Okay, good. Well, good people. So listen, so tomorrow, so then we, okay. So good. So we finished with a little kind of another prayer. Like I think of them as two bookends, you know. We began the day with a little motivation. So we finished with what we call a dedication. So thinking, and this is the Buddha's view, as many moments as there have been, as many thoughts we've had since we started this morning, is as many seeds we've planted. Maybe we don't remember 99% of it, it's true. You know, we couldn't repeat verbatim, including me, I couldn't, what we've been talking about. But it's all gone in. So we think maybe nourish these seeds with our efforts from this moment, you know, even practicing tonight, noticing your mind, observing things, being aware of what your thoughts are doing, you know, why not make that part of your homework? So we think of all these seeds we've planted, maybe nourish them from this moment forward with our efforts so we can develop our amazing potential, so we can be of benefit to others, no matter how long it takes. Thinking like this. I'll do a little prayer, we call it dedication. What I'm going to sing effectively says that. And there's a second little prayer, which is just making the aspiration that compassion grow and grow in the hearts of all. Kewajin yududag lama sange drugyurne drowa chikyang malupa dei sala gopashok Changchob semchog rinpoche ma ke panam ke gyuchig ke panyampa me payang gong ne gong du baba shok. Okay, so there's three bits of homework. Between now and when you go to sleep, try to. There's two parts to it. If you think this is the compassion approach. That your body and your speech is for others. Think like this. That that your body and your speech. So you think whoever sees me, whoever hears me, whoever talks to me, may they benefit just from my presence. And then your mind, that's your business. So pay attention to your thoughts. Notice, observe, there's negative, there's neurotic, there's jealous, there's attached, there's ridiculous, there's kind, there's love, there's empathy. Just observe and kind of like noting, you know, it's really helpful. That's really helpful. Just to note the different thoughts. And then make your body and speech useful to others. That's one part of your homework until you go to bed. And then when you go to bed, when you hit the pillow, make a strong decision that if you can, to be aware that you're dreaming while you're dreaming. There's reason to that. We'll talk about it tomorrow. So to be noticing that, some people can be aware that they're dreaming when you're dreaming. That's really kind of interesting. So that's the second piece. And the third piece of homework is, you're supposed to laugh now, if you wake up in the morning. There you go, see? But we all assume we will, because one of the big mistakes in our mind is we all think we're permanent, because we can't stand the thought of dying. So if we wake up in the morning, we think, as soon as you come back to consciousness, you think, wow, amazing. My petrol tank of morality hasn't run out yet. I'm still alive, right? And I'm going to make the most of today. Hop out of bed, come to class. Does anybody want to do a meditation in the morning earlier? If you feel like it, if you're around. Maybe not. If you like. Even a couple of you. We'll check if we can use the room. Where's Ronit? We can use the room? Okay, well, what time's breakfast? Do you have your breakfast here or do you have your breakfast at your house?
House.
Okay, what time do you like to have your breakfast? Those who want to, I'm not saying anyone has to come, but if you want, because I've got to get here, don't I? We can do that? Well, maybe we will say, like, just for half an hour, 7:30 till 8 or something. Is that too early? Oh, 8 o'clock, oh, sorry. So,
it's a bit early.
Okay, we'll do it after breakfast and come a half an hour early. No. Come at 9 o'clock. Better. 9 o'clock after your breakfast. But you've got to do your little practices. Watch your body, speech and mind before you go to bed. Hit the pillow and think, may I see my dreams as dreams. Wake up and think, wow, how amazing, still alive, I must make the most of today. And then see your breakfast differently, like the work of heart of all the sentient beings. And then 9 o'clock, come for a little meditation, and we'll do a couple of techniques. And then 9:30 teaching. If you'd like to come early, you're very welcome. If we can use the room, come here, Ronit.
This room, I think so.
Yes.
Okay. If you'd like it, those who want, no pressure. All right? Thank you, darlings.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow. Honey,
Something funny.
What, tell me?
I usually aware when I'm dreaming.
Good.
But I used to have very strange dreams
Yes,
that I'm
yes.
in all kinds of sidewalks looking for something all the time. And I was walking all the time, but I was aware. And the dream was